And we got the go ahead. Welcome again to another week of Broadfield Live. Every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, we bring you a live dealer webinar talking about the latest opportunities, new products, and new promotions available in the industry. Live production, post-production, video editing, and everything in between, video storage and more. Today, we are going to introduce you to AVID MediaCentral Editorial Management, which is going to be a huge opportunity for the channel if you're working with customers that are using Avid Media Composer or Adobe workflows and are working in a collaborative environment. If you're working with teams of 5 editors or more, the Avid MediaCentral Editorial Management may be the solution to get them into that shared storage space to help make their workflows better than ever. So are your customers collaborating? We have a repeat on the slide here. But if your customers are using more than one editor within their workflow and are sharing their projects with many people across the board, MediaCentral Editorial Management may be the perfect solution to help them hit that next level of production ease. MediaCentral Editorial Management is perfect if sold to post houses, which are a natural fit, people who have already bought into Avid Media Composer and Symphony and Newscutter workflows, who are now considering a small production system with shared storage solutions, a small TV or movie production center, and people who want to share and collaborate across the board, as well as advertising agencies and corporate video production teams. Anybody who is going to have multiple people working off of the same media files, working into the same workflows, and trying to develop and create a more efficient workflow to get their project out as quickly as possible. There's also an excellent opportunity to bring MediaCentral Editorial Management to college and university communications departments, as well as local sports teams and venues. Basically, any editorial team that is looking at a bunch of seats of Avid Media Composer or eventually even Adobe Premiere workflow can benefit from the MediaCentral Editorial Management. So I'm going to bring in a special guest by Skype, our newest Broadfield salesperson, Glenn Seaman, who is our Broadfield Workflow Sales Specialist. Glenn comes to Broadfield with more than 25 years of experience in the video production industry, with past roles in tech support, product management, and sales management with companies like Avid themselves. And he is Avid ACSR certified and is going to continue the training and certifications to help get the knowledge to help you close these sales. So let's bring Glenn in by Skype now and say a quick hello.
Hey,
Glenn,
good
how
morning.
are you?
Good afternoon. I'm good.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. You're welcome.
So, Glenn, you're working out of your home office there in Texas, right?
I am.
So by the miracle of Skype, Glenn is joining us on our broadcast today. And we brought him in because he's actually been working and training on some of the MediaCentral Editorial Management. And with your experience in the industry, you can probably speak to some of the features and benefits much better than even I can.
Yes. No, I mean, Avid, MediaCentral Editorial Management is great. It's been kind of the missing piece. Avid for a long time tried to make interplay production work in post-production, and it just was never designed for it. It's a phenomenal product for news, but it really doesn't work in a post environment. And it's certainly not something that is scalable down to, the smaller shops that may only have, a few seats to, 20 seats that need that type of workflow.
Yeah, and we've seen even in the shared storage marketplace, the Nexus Pro bundled with a Dell Switch comes in now at under $10,000. So we're seeing a lot of small production teams of even 2, 3, or 4 people kind of adopt and migrate towards that shared storage solution that was a much larger investment as recently as just a couple of years ago.
Right.
So now by going to the shared storage, that kind of opens the door to the customer that would benefit from the MediaCentral Editorial Management.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Glenn, I know you can speak to some of the tools that are made available to a customer using MediaCentral. What would some of those be?
Well, I think do we want to start right with the tools, or we kind of want to talk about the platform and what the requirements are?
I'm going to let you drive this bus, man. You're the expert. So
Okay.
let's talk about some of the platform and the requirements.
Yeah, super. So, I mean, really, the first requirement really is you need to have a Nexus shared storage environment. This will not run with any other shared storage. It's not going to run with ISIS. It is based off of Nexus. On top of that, you are going to need to have a server that is running the MediaCentral Editorial Management software, and that will kind of manage what's called your bin services. It'll also take care of running MediaCentral Editorial Management, and it'll also do some transcoding, which we'll talk about a little bit later on in this. So you've got that. Really, those are your main tools, and obviously, Media Composer for editorial itself, and then there's also going to be Chromium browser support. So those are the big things, and we'll talk a little bit about Premiere. Not much, because that's not coming out until Q3. So I think that there's not a lot that can be said there, other than it's coming in Q3. But let's dive in a little bit. So that's your requirements there. So as I said, a server that is going to run the MediaCentral Editorial Management, and then your Nexus storage itself. So
and I actually have some specifics on those servers a little bit later on in the presentation, so we can kind of give a little bit more specifics of what those requirements would be. But yeah, so MediaCentral is going to require the server platform itself, the shared storage, and the subscription to the MediaCentral Editorial Management. And that kind of completes the workflow for people who are using Avid Media Composer today, and then when it's released, the support for Adobe Premiere workflows later on in Q3, right?
Yes.
Perfect. So I just pulled up the slide here on some of the product details and the tools that are included in MediaCentral. And I know the MediaCentral panel for Media Composer is kind of the selling point and the biggest thing that we want to kind of educate our dealers to demo to their customers that are interested in the platform, right?
Right. Yeah, so there's really, on V1, there's two parts. There's the Media Composer editorial panel, and then there is the MediaCentral Cloud UX, which we'll dive into both those in a little bit. And then coming soon will be the Adobe Premiere panel as well. So if we get advanced to the next slide, that'll give you a chance to talk a little bit about the Media Composer editorial panel. So before we talk about the panel, let's understand a little bit about what problem it's trying to solve. So, if somebody's on shared storage in an Avid environment, that's great. I mean, there's all the benefits of shared storage. You can, have far more storage available to you than you would under a direct attached storage environment. Lots of benefits to Nexus. And of course, one of those is you can share projects. The problem has always been, when you share projects on Media Composer, it's great. But if I open up a project and then Jim opens up that same project in that same bin that I'm working in, it's locked to him. And those are great, and it's a very powerful way of managing things. But the problem always becomes if I'm working in a project and I know, oh geez, there's a clip I need in another bin. How do I get to that? Well, currently without editorial management, the only way to do that is to do it at the OS level. Is to navigate down, find that folder, that project, pull that bin out of that folder and move it into another one. So editorial management kind of solves that. And the way it works is, first off, if you're connected to your Nexus, it's going to work off of your login. It's going to work with your credentials. So you are only going to have access to the volumes, to the workspaces that you have permission for. So if you don't have access to something through the Nexus client, you're not going to have access to it through MediaCentral. So from an editor's point of view, when I open up Media Composer, I'm having the same experience. I open up, I see my bins exactly the same way I want to work, but I also now have the Media Composer MediaCentral editorial panel. When I open that up in Media Composer, I now can look at all of the bins and projects and media that is on any Nexus workspace that I have access to. And I can browse that, I can search through that, I can find clips. I double click on the clip, it'll play inside my Media Composer window. That bin is now available to me in my Media Composer. And that's really where it becomes powerful, is that I'm not having to leave my Media Composer environment.
And from what I understand, that search itself is pretty powerful. And Avid has kind of taken their technology from other platforms and integrated that search capability into this panel as well, right?
Yeah, so you will have the phonetic search capability. You will have the phrase find. So all that stuff will be integrated in there. It's it's coming in various versions. So some of it you'll be able to do directly from within Media Composer itself, and then some of it eventually you'll be able to do from the web client as well. Again, this is V1 of the product, so there's still a lot of things to be finalized in it and added to it. And there's even more to come in the future.
Yeah, and that's a good thing to keep in mind too, is that as V1 solves a specific need for groups that can use these features, there's still a lot more that is going to be rolled out and to come. And Avid is one of those companies, especially of late, that once they introduce a platform, those upgrades are coming fast and furious. They have an entire product team dedicated to MediaCentral, and this editorial management is kind of rolled up in there, and they have a lot of effort at Avid themselves supporting it. So you said it requires the Chromium-based panel, and that there's a lot of capability included in that. And by using a VPN connection, editors can also remotely connect.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So the editorial panel works inside Media Composer. So that's really the editor's view into MediaCentral editorial management is the panel. Where things really get interesting and where this really opens up a lot more possibility and is a game changer is when you get into using the cloud UX version of it. Now, what I want to tell people is this is not a public cloud, and it's really, I mean, cloud UX is really the user experience. It is the interface that people are going to use. But if you have a Chrome-based browser, so that's Mac, Windows, that's going to be Android or iOS, you can open this up and you will get the editorial management MediaCentral UX. And what that allows you to do now is you can look at clips that are on your Nexus server. Now, the nice thing is the way to think about it is this is your own private cloud. So anybody inside your facility has a Chrome browser, opens this up, they now have access to it. The neat thing is, of course, you can go in and you can set up VPN access so somebody can remotely get to these as well. And what that's really useful is like producers. So maybe you've got a producer that is remote somewhere. They don't want to come in to the facility to review stuff. You can set them up VPN access. You can actually use Nexus to set up permissions so they only will get to certain folders. And then they can open that up and they can look at it while they're sipping a margarita on their deck and review things remotely. So that's the beauty of that. So it is not, a lot of people get nervous because when they see cloud, they're thinking, okay, public, big. This is not cloud. This is the cloud UX is the user experience, and then you control who's getting to it. But that's really the beauty of it. The nice thing too is, obviously for anybody on Media Composer, they're gonna, when they hit play, it's gonna use the Media Composer's playback engine, and it's gonna get the performance that they would get just like they would if it was directly attached, because you basically just making that connection from editorial management to the Nexus to that actual clip. So there's no difference there. When you're on the browser, and if you're remote on the browser, this is where that server helps, because that server is going to do the transcoding on the fly so that somebody VPN will actually get playback as well. So depending on how much you're looking to do that, if you're going to have a lot of people doing that, a lot of users, that's when you may want to look at the horsepower of that server itself.
And I think that's where our dealers can really kind of leverage your expertise. And I think why you add a lot to Broadfield is that this performance is really going to be based on a few key factors. The speed of the server itself, the bandwidth, and the codec support. So
right.
in configuring the server, you've obviously had experience with that in the past. I know you're Avid ACSR certified now, is that correct?
Correct.
So just your knowledge of what it takes to run an Avid system and leveraging that into this collaborative environment is really going to be a good resource for all of our Broadfield dealers. And, again, that's why Glenn's on board, to help you answer those questions and to get MediaCentral editorial management set up properly, whether it's a school, university, government agency, or post-production house that you're working with. I know one of the big features of editorial management is the HyperBin architecture that Avid has even gone so far as to trademark as something that's going to be specific to the cloud UX with MediaCentral. So HyperBin is not a term I'm familiar with. What does it mean? What does it do?
Yeah, so this is, again, like I said, that this is all really the game changer, is this ability to do these things in a web browser. And what HyperBin does now is it allows you from within that web browser to, not only, look at Avid bins, play Avid media, but actually create Avid bins. And this is really huge, because what this means now is that you don't have to have experience on Media Composer to start organizing and working with bins. And this has been a big thing. I mean, if you look at, the way things work, you look at productions, let's say, I'm an assistant editor and my job is to come in and organize all the stuff that was shot, all the stuff that was captured the night before. And what I need to do is create bins of A-roll and B-roll. Previously, I would need to know Media Composer, and I would have to have a seat of Media Composer available to me to sit down and do all of that. Now I can open up a web browser, I can create an A-roll bin, a B-roll bin, I can start moving, the clips into that bin. Those bins become instantly available to my Media Composer editor. So if he wants to just look at it and see what I'm doing, it's instantly available to him. So there's no delay on that. I can also go in and I can rename clips. I can add metadata. I can add locators. I can actually add mark-ins and mark-outs all from within a Chromium-based browser. So I don't need to know Media Composer. That also means that producers that know nothing about Media Composer have that same ability.
I think this would really allow some production teams to add assistant producers or PAs to their project seamlessly and easily, right?
Right, and there's a couple of these things. I mean, first off, like I said, you have to have a seat of Media Composer today. Without this, you have a seat of Media Composer. So either you're putting that assistant editor on that Media Composer in off hours, or you have 2 seats of Media Composer and the hardware to run them on and everything else. So that's an expense. Also, if they need to use Media Composer, they need to have some skills, which means you're paying a little bit more for that editorial talent because they know Media Composer. Now you can take somebody that can very quickly learn what they can do inside the MediaCentral UX. They
That's
can now
awesome.
and it's any browser-based machine, any machine that can run a browser can run this.
This is great, and I know we covered a lot of it just in the discussion and going back and forth, but there are a lot of value propositions to the MediaCentral editorial management for a lot of areas in the creative workflow. I know the editor is going to benefit from never having to leave Media Composer and the tool set that he knows already. What are some of the other value props that we can talk about and share with our dealers today?
Yeah, so like you said, so for Media Composer editor, that's always been a big thing, is I don't want to learn a new product. I don't want to learn a new tool. I don't want to change my workflow. So this is a very little change to their workflow. They're still within Media Composer. They're not leaving that space. If they need to find something, they open up the control of the panel, they find the clip they need, they bring it to the bin, and it works exactly the way they did. They also don't have to have that dangerous step of stepping out of their Media Composer, going to the OS, finding a project, finding a bin, and moving it or copying it to their bin or their project. So it's all within their interface. So that's the beauty. Their world doesn't change. The authentication is still based off of Nexus. So it's also more of, I am only going to have access to what I need. I don't have to think about logging into something else. I don't have to, anybody that's administrating it doesn't have to worry about, oh my God, I have to make sure that the person using MediaCentral Editorial Management can't get to this. It's all managed through the Nexus login. So it's very seamless to the guy sitting in the Media Composer seat.
And for our dealers, if you're working with the editor themselves, Glenn just talked about a lot of those benefits. It also allows them to bring an assistant editor on inexpensively and easily, but it also has a lot of value props available to the producer and the director who, with a super simple interface, who can browse clips and search for content themselves. MediaCentral Editorial Management is available now at $1,000 a seat, sold in 2, 5, 10, 20, and 25 packs. MediaCentral Editorial Management is also available in special bundles with Nexus Pro shared storage solutions. So if you go with a Nexus Pro 40 terabyte solution, the Dell N2024 switch, and 5 seats of editorial management, 2 seats of Media Composer, that entire bundle for a collaborative environment is under $20,000 MSRP. You can upgrade that with 2 of the NEXIS Pros for 80 terabytes of shared storage for just under $30,000 MSRP. And of course, Broadfield has NEXIS Pros, Dell switches, MediaCentral Editorial Management, and Media Composer all in stock and readily available. And Glenn and your Broadfield salesperson can work with you to kind of custom tailor whatever bundle you need to fit your customer's workflow. I also promised earlier that we would talk about some of the server specs and the server requirements. We've worked with HP Enterprise to put together some specs on a Gen 10 server that would be enough to run MediaCentral Editorial Management with the 5 seats that we had discussed, and that machine is going to come in at just under $6,000. Obviously, you can build an even more robust server station, and as you add more seats and more people within that collaborative environment, you're going to want to go with a bigger and faster server. As Glenn mentioned before, the performance of editorial management is based on that server speed, but this machine at $6,000 is going to be more than enough to readily handle your small production groups. All of these are available now at Broadfield Distributing, so you can give us a call at 800-634-5178. Glenn, what's your extension again?
Oh dear, I always give people my direct number. I think it's 1153.
I think 1153 is correct. So you can give us a call at the 800 number. You can reach Glenn directly at extension 1153. Our email addresses are also, very difficult to decode. It would be glenn@broadfield.com. So you can reach out and speak to Glenn on any of these workflow solutions or talk to any of the Broadfield salespeople, and they'll be happy to bring Glenn on board when we need to get through that workflow management. This is what Glenn is for. This is the expertise he brings to the table. But as always, everybody here is available to help answer your questions and help you close the sale. Glenn, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure.
I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to talk about some of the topics we have coming up in the next few weeks. We are going to talk about New Tech Premium Access, their new trade-up to IP promotion, and some NDI workflows. We are also going to talk about the availability of some new products. I know Eamon at Bird Dog just posted a picture of the first Bird Dog Mini in front of the production lines. So we're hoping that these exciting new products at a $595 MSRP are going to be shipping very soon. At the end of the month, as we do every month, we're going to talk about our news, specials, new products, and promotions. And then we're going to talk about Bird Dog Studio NDI, their Bird Dog comms, and any other new products that are available from Broadfield Distributing. Join us every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and reach out to us at 800-634-5178. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great week.
Broadfield Distributing is a value-added distributor of live production, streaming, video editing, and storage products. We only sell to resellers. We are always looking for new dealers, so call us at 800-634-5178 or email sales@broadfield.com. You'll like doing business with Broadfield because we make it easy to do business.